Hey everybody, welcome back to Weenie Branches Farm. I'm Rebecca. Today I have two Weight Watchers recipes that I want to share with you. One I'm making for dinner tonight. It's fettuccine and creamy zucchini sauce. I also have some chicken. I'm going to bake that up in the oven. And I'll probably make a side, maybe broccoli or something like that to go along with it. The other recipe is a breakfast recipe that I'm going to make to meal prep for the week. We have some construction that's going to be going on at our house, and I want to make sure that we have something yummy and hot that we can have for breakfast before our day gets started. And that's going to be skinny French toast muffins. Both of these recipes are Weight Watchers recipes, and even if you're not following the Weight Watchers plan, I encourage you to make these because they are delicious. So I'm excited to share these with you. About 4:30 and I don't have to start dinner right away. So I thought that what we would start with is the skinny French toast muffins. Go ahead and get those made and cooled and packaged up and put in the freezer. So that's what we're going to start with first. We need dried slices of bread. We need a cup of unsweetened almond milk, coconut milk, or you can use skim milk. I'm going to use skim milk. We need 1/4 cup of some type of fruit. So what I'm going to use is going to be unsweetened applesauce. Is what I'm going to use in mine. We need a 0-point granulated white sugar. I'm going to use Truvia. I have that on hand already, so I'm going to use that. We need 4 eggs, or you could use egg beaters. You can use 1 cup of liquid egg beaters. And then we need vanilla and ground cinnamon. This recipe makes 12 muffins, which will be plenty for Mark and I to have for all week. So, this recipe calls for dried bread, and I don't have any dried bread. So what I'm going to do is take my sheet pan, this metal rack, and my bread. I'm using the Sara Lee Delightful 45 calorie bread. This probably will make the points less than if you use the bread that this calls for, since this is really low point bread. But what I'm going to do is place this bread on this cookie sheet with a metal rack. And we're going to put this in the oven for about 10 minutes because I don't have any dry bread. So we're going to try to dry this out and get it ready to make the French toast. It says we need 10 slices, so there is 8. Get a new loaf. I hope you guys will make this because it is so good. 9, 10. And normally what I say is if you've got time to make one recipe, you might as well double it. Well, let me tell you my dilemma. So I don't own a muffin tin pan. That's not true. I have 2 of them. But they are tiny. These are ones that I just bought when the babies were going to be here. This one is pumpkins. And this one's just your regular muffin tin pan. So I'm not going to double the recipe with these pans. I am going to get another muffin tin pan, but for now I'll just use these. But the oven just preheated, so I'm going to stick our 10 pieces of bread in the oven for 12 minutes, 10 to 12 minutes. And it'll be ready to work with. So 6 minutes in, I'm going to open the oven and turn these over just to make sure that they're really good and dry. It's been 6 minutes, so I'm going to take this out of the oven and we're just going to flip this over. and let it dry out on the other side. This is a really quick process. Usually it takes longer. It takes a lot longer to dry out bread, but this is just a quick way to do it. So back in the oven it goes for another 6 minutes. It's been 6 minutes, so we're going to get the bread out of the oven. You don't want it to toast and get brown. You just want it to be dry. That's all we're looking for. This is a good reason to save your bread when you maybe have a stale loaf of bread. I don't know if y'all ever have that, but anyway, what we want to do now is cut up this bread into cubes and put it in our bowl. Just small pieces, just about like that. Okay, now we're going to set that aside. And now we're going to make the egg batter. So what we need to do is spray our muffin tins with Pam. Oh no, did you see what just happened? Oh, dang it. Okay, so I'll have to grab another egg. Okay, back in business. We need to spray our muffin tins with Pam. We'll just give those a little light spray of Pam. Set those aside. And now we need to make our egg mixture. So for the egg mixture, we need 1 cup of skim milk. And the recipe says that you can use coconut milk or almond milk as well. I'm going to use skim milk. So 1 cup of skim milk. We need 1/4 cup of applesauce. I'm using the Mott's applesauce that is no sugar added. We need 1/4 cup of that. We need 2 tablespoons of 0-point granulated sweetener. I'm going to use the Truvia granulated sweetener. I need 2 tablespoons of that. 2 tablespoons of that. We need 4 eggs, or you can use 1 cup of liquid egg beaters. So we need 4 eggs. I hate that I dropped that egg on the ground. These are fresh eggs right from our chickens. We just got these eggs yesterday. out of the thing, out of the chicken coop. Okay, so now we need 2 tablespoons of vanilla. So the lady that I got this recipe from, she said that you need to use cake batter flavoring instead of the vanilla flavoring. So trust me, this cake batter flavoring is so good. So try it with the cake batter flavoring. I had to order it on Amazon because I couldn't find it anywhere. So the cake batter flavoring or vanilla flavoring, whichever one you choose to use, we need 2 teaspoons of that. This is orange. I don't know if you can tell, but it's orange. And it's extra thick. So see there? And it's extra thick. Okay. And then 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. This is a 1/2 teaspoon measure, so we'll do it twice. And now we just whisk this together. This smells really good. Now that we have that whisked together, what it says to do is grab your bowl of dried bread, and we're going to pour in the wet ingredients. This needs to sit for about 5 minutes and soak into the bread. So we're going to mix this up. You want to make sure every piece of bread is coated in the mixture. And now we're going to let this sit for 5 minutes to soak up all this goodness, and then we'll put it in our muffin tins. This has been sitting for 5 minutes, so what we're going to do is scoop this into the muffin tins. It says to fill them 3/4 full, and then they'll rise some during cooking, but they will flatten out after they're done. I might struggle with these little muffin tins. They are so tiny. Take some out of that one. Our oven is ready. Get a little bit out of that one. Let's see. The next step is, before we put them in the oven, we're supposed to sprinkle them with a cinnamon sugar mixture. So for the cinnamon sugar mixture, we need a tablespoon of sugar and a teaspoon of cinnamon. So we have a teaspoon of cinnamon. And This is a 1/2 tablespoon measure, so we'll do it twice. Just stir that up. Just like that. And then we're just going to get in there with our fingers and sprinkle it on top of each muffin. These are so good. And you could switch it up. Instead of using apple sauce, you could use apples that you had put up in your freezer when you had, I don't know about you, but when we have extra apples, if they look like they're going to go bad or whatever, I cut them up and put them in the freezer, and then I use them if we're going to have pies or if I'm going to make ham pies or whatever. I'm not going to use the rest of that. That was quite a bit of mixture. Let's see what the recipe says. It says sprinkle the tops of it and make sure. Okay, well, we're supposed to use all of it, so I guess we'll just keep using it until it's gone. I think that I put up the cinnamon and sugar that I had left over the last time because it was a lot. Okay. The oven is preheated and these are ready to go in. They need to cook for about 15 to 18 minutes. Last time it took them 18 minutes. So I'm going to set my timer for 15 minutes and probably still bake them 18 minutes. So anyway, in the oven they go. Okay, the timer has gone off. And here's what we're looking at. Wow, those are beautiful. So beautiful. Look at that. There's the second pan. We're going to let those sit there and cool for about 5 minutes or so. And then I'll pull them out and put them on the cooling rack. They look so good. Well, they are good. They taste delicious. And you eat these with, you can top them with powdered sugar, or you can use sugar-free syrup on them. And the recipe says to serve immediately. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put these in the, once they cool, I'm going to put them in the freezer for breakfast prep for the week. I have them out all on the cooling rack. I'm going to set them over here and let them cool completely. They look so good. I'll let them cool completely, and then I'm going to put them in the freezer, and this will be our breakfast for the week. And like I said, you can either use, you could sprinkle them with powdered sugar and eat them that way, or you could put sugar-free syrup on them, and that's what we're going to do because it's 0 points. I have all of the ingredients for our fettuccine and creamy zucchini sauce. I'm really excited to make this. So I have out all of the things. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to fillet this chicken because it is super thick. So I'm going to fillet that, get it on my baking sheet, and get that in the oven cooking while we make our fettuccine. I'm just going to spray this pan with some ham. I don't don't like to handle meat, raw meat, with my bare hands. So I'm just going to throw on some gloves, and then I'll get this filleted. Some scissors. And I don't ever cut meat on my butcher block. I always cut it on these white cutting boards. I always use those for meat. See how thick they are? They're pretty fat chicken breast. So just going to cut them in half, just like that, and put them on our pan. Okay, let me get rid of this, and I'll get our seasonings for our chicken. Chicken, the only thing I'm going to do, I'm going to season the chicken real simple, because the sauce with the fettuccine, the zucchini sauce that goes with that fettuccine, is delicious on the chicken. So I don't want to take away from that flavor. So what I'm going to do is season this very, I guess, generically. I'm just going to season it enough to give it some flavor while it cooks. So the first thing I'm going to use is a little bit of garlic powder. I'm just going to sprinkle that on each one. Some garlic powder. Some paprika. This is just a 1/4 of a teaspoon measure that I'm using, just to make sure I don't over season. Some onion powder. You might hear Mark. He is working from home today, and he is out on the porch doing, he's out on the porch doing a chore right now. This is just Italian seasoning, which will go along great with this fettuccine meal that we're having. Okay. Some black pepper. And just a little bit of salt. Now what we're going to do is just turn these over, and we're going to do the same thing again. The chicken has to cook on 375 until it reaches 165 degrees. And so we will let that cook for a good 20 minutes and see where we are, and then let it finish cooking. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to measure out our pasta. So I'm going to turn on my scale, set my cup on, tare the scale or clear the scale, whichever one you like to call it. And then we need, I can't see what that says. We need 8 ounces of pasta, and this is 8 ounces. So we need 8 ounces of pasta. So I'm going to turn this big burner on high, put some water on, and we're going to get the pasta water cooking. What we want to do is throw in a little salt for that. When that comes up to a boil, we'll put our pasta in. In this skillet, I'm going to turn on the temperature to about medium-high heat. We need to add 2 tablespoons of butter. Whoops. Just made a mess with the butter. Need to add in 2 tablespoons of butter. 2 tablespoons of minced garlic. I need 2 tablespoons of minced garlic. Okay. Now this is going to saute for just a few minutes. Gosh, that smells good. We're just going to let this sit here and cook. The pasta water is ready, so we're going to put the pasta in. I'm going to break it in half one time. This garlic needs to saute for about 2 minutes. To this garlic and butter, we're going to add the zucchini. We need 3 cups of zucchini, chopped into bite-sized pieces. Now this needs to cook for a few minutes until the zucchini gets done. The recipe says to let this cook in this pan for about 8 to 10 minutes until the zucchini is soft and it starts getting a little bit of color on it from being in the pan. I'm only cooking for Mark and I, and the 8-ounce package of the noodles is always more than we can eat. So I think you could probably cut that in half. I don't think you need that quite that much. Getting a little bit of color. Let it cook for about 2 more minutes or so. And our pasta is done. The pasta is done, so I'm going to get it strained out. Looks really good. It's actually a mixture of whole grain pasta and regular pasta because I had a bunch of containers of half empty different kinds of pasta, so that's what we used. The zucchini is done. It's got a beautiful color on it now. The garlic got a little bit brown, but that's okay. It looks delicious. So you don't want to drain the grease off of this because that's our butter. So I have out my Tupperware steamer. I put in just a little bit of water in the bottom. And I'm going to add some of this broccoli. Just going to add some of this broccoli to this. This will be our side dish. So I'll put the lid on that. Let's throw on some salt and pepper. There's some salt. A little bit. And a little bit of pepper. And this we will pop in the microwave for about 3 or 4 minutes. And I'll check it because the broccoli was frozen. So we'll put that in there, set the timer, and let that cook for about 4 minutes. Okay, the next step is getting our blender set up. This yummy sauce is made in the blender and then put back into the pan. So we need to get our yummy zucchini that we made. Scrape it all into the food processor, and you're going to leave that pan on the stove. The stove is turned off, but you're going to leave the pan on the stove top. So the next thing that we're going to do is, that's our broccoli that's done. Add the diced zucchini to the blender. And let's see. Okay, so we have the zucchini in the blender. We're going to add a cup of milk. We are going to add our cheese. We need 3/4 of a cup of cheese. Actually, well, yeah. 3/4 of a cup of cheese. Now, since I'm using reduced fat shredded, it looks like Colby Jack and mozzarella. So since I'm using that, I am going to add a teaspoon. This is a 1/2 teaspoon measure, so I'm going to add a teaspoon of Parmesan cheese because the recipe calls for Parmesan cheese. Oh no, the chicken broth comes next, but we need 1 cup of chicken broth. So we'll set that to the side. And this is going to be processed until it's creamy. Oh, I'll plug it in. It'll work there. It's late and I'm tired. Looks creamy to me. Okay, let's turn off the microwave. I'm going to turn the heat back on medium-high. And add our zucchini back to the pan. Wow, that looks yummy. Okay, so the recipe says to transfer the sauce from the blender back into the skillet. Turn on to medium-low heat, add in the chicken broth, and cook. It says to stir lightly but often, and it needs to cook for 8 minutes. And if you don't like all of those green spots in there, that's just the peel from the zucchini. If you don't like that, you can certainly peel it before you cook it in your recipe. We don't mind it, so I don't bother doing that. I have some spinach from our garden. I'm just going to chop that up. We have a lot of greens coming out of the garden right now. It's real exciting. I'm just real proud of how the garden's doing right now.
And it's November. So I thought I planted baby spinach, but I planted regular spinach. So the leaves are just huge. But that's okay, they're delicious. Okay, so we have some spinach. Let me turn the alarm off on the microwave because it will not stop. Okay, we have our lettuce in, or not lettuce. We have our spinach. I'm going to put in some red onion. And try to slice it really, really super thin. I don't like biting into a huge chunk of onion when I'm going to sew this thing shut. It does this every time. Every single time. I'm going to put in some cucumber. Just a little. I do not like the skin of a cucumber. I don't know why, because I'll eat the skin on all different kinds of squashes, but I just don't like it on a cucumber. I know, don't scrape your knife on the cutting board. I try to remember that, but sometimes I get in a hurry and do whatever's the quickest. So we have some cucumber in there. I'm going to put a tomato. I hope I have better luck with tomatoes next year. I had horrible luck with tomatoes this year. There it goes, it fell off. Okay, so we have spinach, cucumber, tomato, and onion. I'm going to cover this up and we're going to make a dressing. Just a simple oil and vinegar dressing. I don't ever measure it. I just put equal parts of oil. So I'll put oil, some vinegar, I can see the line on the jar, so I'm kind of cheating a little bit this time. So I put to the first line of oil, the second line, up to the second line of balsamic vinegar. Okay. And now I'm going to add a little bit of garlic powder. This is a half a teaspoon. That sounds good. So a half a teaspoon of garlic powder. The Italian seasoning, I'm just going to sprinkle in there. I do want some black pepper in it. Do y'all know this trick? Where's my other shaker? I don't know where my other shaker went. Oh, hold on. It's being used for my camera. Okay. So if your black pepper won't come out, like you shake and it won't come out, take your salt shaker and sit it on top. And just do like that. Pepper comes out perfectly. A lady at a restaurant showed me that once. Okay, and then I'm going to put in some honey. Just a little bit of honey. It cuts the tartness of the vinegar, I guess. I don't know. Tastes good. That's basically why I do it. Put the lid on it and give it a shake. I'm going to throw this in the freezer. So it'll be getting chilled for our dinner because I'm about to plate it up. Okay, so on our plate we have the fettuccine with the zucchini sauce. We're going to get a piece of the chicken. Put that right on the top. Some of the broccoli. That looked beautiful. And now we are going to just get a little bit of salad. Put that on there. Pour on some of the balsamic dressing.
Thank you so much for joining me today to make these 2 recipes by Weight Watchers. And I hope that you will make them and come back into the comments and tell me how you like them. We thought that they were delicious, and hopefully I'll find more yummy recipes that I can bring to you that you can try. Even if you're not doing Weight Watchers, you can try these recipes and change up the cheese for full fat cheese instead of the reduced fat cheese, and use the heavy cream that it calls for in place of the, skim milk or whatever. But you can tweak it and make it your own. But these are Weight Watchers recipes that we're eating, and they're really good recipes. And like I said, come back to the comments and tell me how you like them. And until next time, we'll see you then.